A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Glory and adoration to Almighty Allah. We appreciate Him. We praise Him. We declare our worship and our service for Him. We also declare that Muhammad Rasulullah was a messenger of Allah, and then His message is that of peace. We believe Him. We love Him. We appreciate Him. We declare that He doesn't deserve our worship. We do not worship Him. That cannot be overemphasized. We worship the one and only creator of the heavens and earth, Allah. We are still talking about Muhammad Rasulullah, and we are now at the point in his life where he has now become the president, the chief judge, and the commander-in-chief of the state of Medina. Not forgetting that even at that, he was still the prophet of Islam. He was still a prophet. So now, and then this new role that he had now assumed is actually the most important. I call it most important because those that criticize him, those that pass wrong information about him all around the place, on the media and everywhere, this is the part of his life that they have misunderstood. Even the Muslims, some of us Muslims also, who have actually misunderstood this role, this role that he has assumed now, they also have misrepresented his message and also misrepresented his personality as well. So, which is really very important for us to clarify his new role now as the commander-in-chief and the president of the state of Medina, which he later turned out to be that of the whole of the Arabian Peninsula, some years after he had become the president and the commander-in-chief of the state of Medina. Now, we need to clarify that Muhammad Rasulullah was not just an ordinary man like you and me. He was a prophet of God whose life was designed by the Creator to be an exemplar for all of us, an excellent one indeed, which means we can always learn from him. He lived a life, he didn't live like an angel. He lived like an ordinary man like you and I. Like he was instructed to say that قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. I am but a man like you. The only difference is that I got revelation. I am a prophet. You are not a prophet. That is just the difference. But I'm just a man like you. A man like us, like who? He got married. He had children. He buried his children. He worked as an apprentice. He was an employer. He was an employee. He was a civilian for a long time in his life, running away from those who wanted to, end his life. And at this point now, he was now, the leader of a country. And being the leader of the country means that he was now the commander-in-chief. So now, before now, he had lived, a life that we civilians like me, will learn from. What would I learn from him in this, in all the time when he was a civilian? What I will learn is that whenever anybody wants to, hurt me, I will go and report to the authority. I will not take laws into my hand. Even if we are a group of Muslims and we are not happy with so many things that is going on around us, we would learn from Muhammad Rasulullah. As civilians, we will go to the authority, report to the authority. If the authority will persecute us, then we do hijrah. We leave that place and move to somewhere else peacefully, not face the authority and start to fight and start to kill. Muhammad Rasulullah did not do that. He didn't do that. He was very peaceful as a civilian. As a civilian, that is what I have learned from Muhammad Rasulullah. I am a civilian. I remain a civilian till now. And by the grace of the Creator of the heavens and earth, I will meet him a civilian. So I will live my life as Muhammad Rasulullah lived his life as a civilian. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, at this point now, he's no longer a civilian. He's now the commander-in-chief. A commander-in-chief is actually a soldier. So, which means even soldiers too will have something to learn about Muhammad Rasulullah. How did he live his life as a soldier? How did he live his life as as a commander of an army. This is now the part of his life now as a soldier and a commander of an army that every soldier in the world would learn from. Every commander of an army will learn from. Every commander in chief, like Trump, like Boris, like Buhari, and all of them, they will all learn from Muhammad Rasulullah how he commanded an army. So you can see that it's not just an ordinary person that lived one kind of life all through. He lived, different kind of lives. At a point, he got married to one wife for 25 years. He had no other wife. So that part of his life will be an example for those of us like me who have just one wife. At another point in his life, he had more than a wife. So he'll be an example for people out there, lots of people out there who have more than one wife. So his life is not, I'm sure you are getting the points now. So at this point now, is the president. He had lived like a follower, a citizen of a state. So those of us who are citizens, we will learn that part of him. But now, he's now the president. So all presidents around the world can also learn from him. Even at this point now, he's now the chief judge. So all chief judges around the world will learn from him. And like I said earlier, at this point, he's now the commander-in-chief of an army. So that every commanders-in-chief will learn from him. And every soldier around the world will also learn from him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, let me give you an example. One example of, what he did as a soldier and the commander-in-chief of a sovereign state and the president. Now, what I didn't tell you last week was that when Muslims left Mecca, they didn't live with their properties, they didn't live with their wealth, they didn't live with their money, because they left in fear of their lives. And then all the properties they left behind, the Meccans seized them. So the very rich amongst them in Mecca got to Medina very poor, like Abdurrahman ibn Auf. He had to start a trade afresh. So when Muhammad Rasulullah is now the president of Medina and the commander-in-chief, then the Meccans, they, put money together and then sent Abu Sufyan as the head of some, Meccans to go to Syria, to get some goods. And then on his way back, leading this caravan of goods and all of that, he decided to pass through a route that, Muhammad Rasulullah will have access to, being the president of Medina now. So his companions got to know about that. And then they told him about it. And they told him that, that was audacity. They seized their properties. They won't even allow them to come and pick up the properties. They won't allow them to get what actually belonged to them. They seized everything. They now even had the audacity to now, use a route very close to Medina, to pass through that route to get to Mecca from Syria with their own caravan. So they told Muhammad Rasulullah that Muhammad Rasulullah should allow them to seize, the caravan. And then this is the 24th century. Let's think about it. Let's use the US and the UK as an example. Let's say, for example, the UK had seized a property that belongs to the US, right? In the UK. And then the UK now, went about, to get some goods. And they now decided that those goods should actually, pass through a port in the US. Of course, the US would seize those goods. And then the US would tell the UK that you want your goods, release my property, then I will release your goods. It's just, very simple diplomatic logic. And that was what Muhammad Rasulullah set out to do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he led, remember now, he's no longer a civilian, he's now the commander-in-chief. So he led the army of Medina to seize the caravan of the Meccans. But Abu Sufyan got a hint of that, sent a very fast rider to Makkah that they should come and defend their properties. The Makkans were, of course, very delighted to hear that. So they set out with an army and then they were on their way to Medina. Abu Sufyan was smart enough. So the route he was actually going to pass through, he changed his route and passed through another route. When Muhammad Rasulullah got to know that he wasn't going to pass through the route he had intended passing through, Muhammad Rasulullah did not go after him. He went back to Medina. That is a good lesson for soldiers and commanders in chief. He had a good justification to seize those caravans because Abu Sufyan was going to act audaciously. But knowing that the army of Medina was actually coming after him now, then he passed through another route. Muhammad Rasulullah then realized that he had respected the sovereignty of his state. So he went back. He didn't go after him. If he was actually, so that is actually a very good one. He went back. Now Abu Sufyan then sent another message to the Makkans that now your business is now safe. Your caravan is now safe. You can go back. Then they decided that they were not going to go back. They decided that it was time for them to end Muhammad Rasulullah's life once and for all, and everybody that will support him. So they came all the way to the outskirts of Medina and then decided that the people of Medina should release Muhammad Rasulullah to them to end his life. Remember, there was a constitution in place and everybody had signed that they would defend one another. So my question to you is that if you were the president of Medina, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Medina, and you have an army waiting out the outskirts of your state, threatening to kill everybody in your state, if you as the leader was not released to them, and you have a mandate to spread a particular message around the world, that if your life were to be taken at that time, that would be the end of the message you were sent by the Creator, what would you do? Let me tell you for free before I move on. When Muhammad Rasulullah finally left Medina to go and meet this army at the outskirts of Medina, do you know what he told them? He told them at first that he wasn't willing to fight them, that they should, but they insisted that it was either they end his life or they would not leave. If you were Muhammad Rasulullah, what would you do? Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.